The United States is set to go to the ballot tomorrow in a hotly contested election for Kenya. The stakes are high as the U.S. is one of the few nations with which Kenya has a positive trade balance. Kenya is in the process of brokering a trade deal with the Trump administration to succeed the Agoa agreement set to come to an end in 2025. So what happens if Joe Biden wins? Brenda Kerubo explores Kenya's trade relations with the U.S. ahead of tomorrow's hotly contested presidential election.
Trade between Kenya and the U.S. stands at about $1 billion a year, with over 70% of Kenya's exports into the American market in 2018 worth $466 million, entering under the African Growth and Opportunity Act. Agoa is a legislation that was approved by the United States Congress in 18th May 2000. It provides duty-free market access to the U.S. for qualifying products made in sub-Saharan African beneficiary countries. Kenya exports apparel, cut flowers, nuts, coffee and tea. It imports machinery, agricultural products and plastics. Apparel is, however, the biggest cash cow for Kenya under Agoa, with over 15 companies domiciled at the Athi River-based export processing zone.
We are exporting casual wear. We've been doing casual wear t-shirts, leggings, shorts, jackets for the US market. And we started with 47 employees. And when we started, our business was really small. We still got clients from the US who wanted to engage with us and to help us grow. Now we have over 370 machines. We have over 530 employees, and our range of products has continued to grow, from adults to women, men and women, to children products. All still in the casual wear.
The apparel market in the United States is the largest in the world, with a market value of $368 billion as at 2019. 10 countries account for almost 80% of all U.S. apparel imports. China tops the list with a 30% share. Kenya is not yet among the top countries, but is gaining traction.
So Kenya is actually one of the leading countries when it comes to utilization of Agoa. With apparel, as you know, last year I think we did close to 511 million US dollars in terms of trade under the Agoa regime. Apparel contributing about 70% of that at 454 million US dollars. So this is a preference, a trade preference that is available.
A proposed deal intending to replace Agoa, which expires in 2025, promises increased collaboration with U.S. companies. Washington and Nairobi formally launched negotiations for a free trade agreement on 8th July 2020. According to President Trump's administration, a new trade agreement presents the two countries a rare opportunity to explore ways of deepening Kenya-U.S. economic and commercial ties.
We've already done one round of negotiations, and yesterday we actually started the second round of negotiations. I expect that we'll have maybe up to 8 rounds, because our plan is to see if we can conclude these negotiations before the middle of next year, or at least the end of next year. So far it's going, it's going well, because we're still learning each other's proposals and options. We have shared theirs, ours, they have shared theirs. So we're just in the midst of negotiations.
On paper, the free trade agreement indicates an arrangement that is predictable and guarantees preferential market access for Kenyan products.
It is my conviction that Kenya go from aid to trade. I think it's the more respectable response. It's what you do as a friend.
But is it a win for exporters such as Shona EPZ Limited?
Me as an entrepreneur, as a business person who is engaging with the US, I would welcome that FTA agreement, because one, we have a direct agreement, a direct engagement with the Americans, and now that arrangement can always be tailored towards what we are doing here, what they want on their side, and how we can put our skills into proper use towards growing our manufacturing space. Our manufacturing space in Kenya is still untapped. I believe we can grow 9-10 folds from where we are right now. And that FTA agreement will help us to do that. The Agoa license is a blanket license that very many African countries have come together to benefit on. However, I think the discussions on Agoa requires a lot more people, takes a lot more time, and therefore doesn't really end up benefiting a particular country.
Without a free trade agreement after 2025, Kenya's apparels would face duty increases of 5%.
It is in Kenya's interest to ensure that you can have that market access even after the end of Agoa. So the negotiation of the trade agreement is to create some certainty about our trading regime with the United States. Secondly, even if Agoa was to be extended, there has been no indication, and the U.S. government has clearly stated that it shall not be extended. But even when these provisions are extended, a country like Kenya, which is fast growing and becoming a lower middle income country, is not eligible for some preferential trade agreements or trade arrangements for least developed countries. So Kenya would be very, very exposed if it doesn't have a predictable regime. Thirdly, because Agoa expires, you've not been able to attract the right type of investment that requires certainty. So an FTA gives you certainty so that even U.S. investors who want to produce for that market can set up in Kenya because they have a predictable window. But right now, under Agoa, many people haven't been able to put up some businesses that require that level of certainty.
So what exactly is Kenya negotiating for under the deal?
If you compare Kenya and USA, even in terms of size of the economy, USA is approximately a 22 trillion US dollar economy. Kenya is approximately 97.5 billion GDP. If you are to put in terms of size, that's approximately 200 times bigger than Kenya. So as a Kenya, the second thing is that if you compare the level of technology and the level of maturity of our economy, it is still behind the one for the USA. So as a country, we are looking at how we can definitely learn from the technology that the US had. So that is one of the things that we're really looking for as a private sector in Kenya. Secondly, we are looking to access the 200 times bigger economy than ours. In fact, if we're even to utilize the US economy alone in terms of supplying, we definitely can even surpass our own GDP that we're doing now in terms of export to the US.
We've been trading with the US under the normal trade and then under the Agoa arrangement, the African Growth and Opportunity Act arrangement. Now, under these two arrangements, or under the two trading regimes, we've been more of taking raw materials, raw coffee, less of value added. If I were to say this time we want to, number one, negotiate to take processed products. I mean, if we're taking coffee, let us take coffee which is processed or semi-processed. Similarly, the other area where we have been very strong has been in the textile apparel. That one we are taking finished goods, which is a good thing. And so we are trying to expand on that so that we can have a bigger market share. In terms of flowers and horticulture, that has been very low, and I think right now we want to expand that for the simple reason that, number one, we now have a direct flight to the U.S. through the arrangement that was signed 2 years ago, I think, and so that allows us to start taking fresh produce to the U.S. So that's another thing that we need to really focus on.
There are concerns, however, the free trade area approach could affect regional deals signed between Kenya and other African countries. For instance, the African Continental Free Trade Area, which Kenya was one of the first nations to ratify, is set to connect 1.3 billion people across 55 countries. The agreement will reduce tariffs among member countries and cover policy areas such as trade facilitation and services, as well as regulatory measures and technical barriers to trade.
We have our regional economic bloc, which is the East African Economic Bloc, composed of 6 countries. We've run it for approximately now 20 years. Under Article 37 of the East African Economic Bloc, a country can be able to negotiate a trading agreement with another country. It is provided for, so long as one, you notify, and there is an objection. Our Kenyan government has done that notification. When it comes to African Free Continental Area, definitely also there is that window. But what we are saying for our partner states in Africa, this is an opportunity for them. This is a model that if we are able to succeed as Kenya, and they should be able to see it as a big advantage. Because as Africa, our net imports is higher than our exports outside the continent. We are trading among ourselves 16%. Other continents is approximately 67, 70%. So we are telling our partner states in Africa, the 54 countries, as Kenya and as a private sector, we don't see any challenge, any risk to that agreement, because the opportunity that will be provided for Kenya will be shared amongst the 54 African countries.
Once the deal sails through, Kenya will serve as a model for other sub-Saharan African countries to secure such agreements with the U.S. Morocco is the only African country with a free trade agreement with the United States. Experts are also concerned the free trade agreement under Trump's American First agenda could be a geopolitical movement to counter China's growing influence in Kenya and Africa at large.
The U.S. has been more relating its trading partnership to Africa generally to political issues, democracy, how is human rights issues. The Chinese have circumvented that and just gone straight to, this is what we want, we don't care what your systems are, or if we do, it's your business. So yes, you're right. The most important thing that the U.S. can do is to give Kenya a preferential trade model that will make them look at China or have a negotiating to be on a negotiating table with China and says, we have this, you're giving us this. I mean, we have options now. So that's number one. So it is clearly a counter approach by the U.S. against the Chinese influence here.
Of course, as a private sector, as we want to trade with whoever, give us the best deal. A business is about deals. And if China right now, we know definitely, it is 34-1. I know you understand what is that. What we're importing from China is 34 times higher than what you're exporting to China. Definitely we have a problem, even as Kenya. We want to increase our exports. We want China to open their markets. We know they've opened a little bit in terms of the fresh fruits, but they've given a lot of conditions that cannot be met by the local small businesses. So it is something that we are lobbying, it is something we are advocating, it is something that we are advising government that we have to increase. In terms of geopolitical influence, in terms of either China and USA, for us, what works for us is the best. If they have problems in terms of business or politics or control, for us as a private sector, we'll take the best deal and the deal that presents a long-term benefit to Kenya and Africa.
Since the FTA was flaunted under President Trump's leadership, what is going to happen if he does not secure a second term?
In this particular case of the FTA, there is really no political connotation to removing it, or leaving it would be in the best interest of the two countries. For Trump, what he did, for instance, with China had more political connotations. We can't give them free access to XYZ. But for Kenya, I think it's been entrenched over time. We've had a lot of what we call commercial dialogue with the U.S. over time, and so removing it I don't see that even with Trump's exit, coming in. It will still stay.
Good thing about America is that the business part of America and the political part of America is not really that connected, in that whatever happens politically in the US, whatever results will come out there, the good thing is that the business relations that they have already set around the world will not really be affected. Currently, with the Trump administration, I like the fact that they have already put up the issues of doing trade with Kenya, and I know there's been a lot of trade wars between America and the East, you know, like Asia, China. But the good thing is that they haven't had those trade wars with Africa. And this is the best time for us to take advantage of that.
There is still an array of talks slated before an agreement is reached. It will then need to be approved by the United States Congress. Brenda Kerubu, KTN News in Nairobi.